Hey, what's up, Internet? I just finished this drawing of a little girl hanging out in the woods. Um, I used a pencil, just like a regular, number two. In this case, though, it's a Murado Black Warrior. I was once told by somebody that the Murado Black Warrior is the greatest pencil ever made. For some reason, that stuck with me. I don't know why. It's such a silly thing. I'm sure there's better pencils. I'm sure there's worse pencils, but who cares? Anyway, so I drew like the actual figure of the girl in pencil, just kind of really lightly. And then once I'd had that laid down, I came back through with my trusty dusty uh, uh, Gansai Tambi traditional watercolor. It also works as a gouache, I have to assume, because there's probably the pigment and then the binder, and then to make it a gouache so that it can become opaque, they added chalk dust to it. But either way, it's a wonderful watercolor. You can see I got some really great effects, and that was just kind of wet brush, just laying it down. You really don't have to try. I feel kind of bummed because I really wanted to stick to and be there for cheap watercolor, or not watercolor, but just cheap art supplies in general. I never wanted to be someone who like it, because I'm not like an artist or anything, but I'm like a drawing and illustration and painting enthusiast. Like, I love this kind of stuff, and I never wanted to be the kind of person who's like, oh yeah, you can use cheap art supplies, you can use expensive art supplies. But now, as it stands, I just kind of have to admit defeat. I tried for, well, it's been years now to use cheap art supplies, and then every once in a while I would, splurge and buy some expensive art supplies. Something actually, this Gansai Tambi isn't even that expensive as far as watercolors go, but it's more, it was more expensive. It's, I think, you can spend like $5 and then get a huge set of watercolors, but the problem is, um I hate to admit it, but it's going to be trash. Like, maybe I shouldn't say trash, just low quality. So I know that the people want to carry the flag for the inexpensive art supplies, but I can no longer do it. I have to admit defeat. I feel terrible saying it, but um, at least mid-range art supplies are going to make your life with art better. And I won't even say easier, because it's not a matter of skill. You can be the best, in this case, watercolorist in the world, and um, you won't get the effects with cheap watercolor. It's just, they're too granular. They're not broken down enough. Like, this stuff is really almost, the actual pigment and binders themselves are ground down to a point where they're almost like an ink. So you can get a lot of great, like, these great effects, these lights and darks, and here on the dress, the lights and darks, and they bleed into each other. You're not going to get, and here, even here on the face, to get the three-dimensional effect, to get like the light and the shadows, light on the light on the forehead and the shadows pooling under the eyes. You're not going to be able to get that with uh, cheap watercolors. I hate to say it, but it's just the reality of the situation. It's terrible and it's a bummer, but you gotta at least get mid-range watercolors if you want to get any kind of good drawings out of it. I've seen I've seen my fair share um of people that are into art that will be like, "Oh yeah, you have to get expensive stuff." And I always chafed against that. I grew up very poor, so I was like, "No, no, no, I'll just make it work." And like I said, it's not a matter of skill or perseverance, because I've tried and I've fought and I've done my best and I've worked and worked at paintings. And if you're using cheap watercolors, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get anything out of it. If you use mid-range, you're going to be okay. And the big part of it, I'll give you a little secret, is really, if when they're sitting like this, they're shiny, you're golden. You're good. And that's literally it. Um if, like, I have another set here, my little makeup case, I call it. You see how when the light shines on them, they're shiny? That means that the pigments, binders, everything are ground really, really fine. So it's like a flat surface when it dries. Better yet, though, is like the liquid stuff. You know, it comes in like a little bottle. Or not a little bottle, but a little squeeze container. Oh, let me see if I can track one. I don't seem to have one. Maybe up here. Oh, you know, and I'll show you a really good example of watercolors that are garbage. Don't use them. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. Because it's so funny, because you'll use cheap... I've used cheap art supplies for a long enough time that I think I've actually wound up spending more money in the long run, because you just can't use the cheap watercolors for any kind of effects. You wind up buying more cheap watercolors and more cheap watercolors when you should have just plunked down maybe twice the amount of money on some you know, mid-range watercolors to get the same effects. Man, I'm having some kind of time digging through here, huh? Sounds like I'm digging a hole. I know it's in here. I literally just saw it. Oh my word. I feel like a fool. Well, whatever. You'll understand what I'm talking about. Just go to an art supply store. Oh, cool, I found my little mini palette. Go to an art supply store and you'll see the little squish bottles. They're like these little... It's like a little thing, and you take the lid off and you squirt the paint out. But yeah, but anyways, no, if you can't get that, the second best is this stuff where it's shiny. See how like the light reflects on it? That means that the grains are broken way down. You'll be able to get these inky effects. Now, something like this, see the light shining on it? See how it's completely dull? See how there's no reflectivity? That means that this stuff is very low quality. It's not ground down. You can even see the way it dries. See how it cracks? That means it's caking together. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm not going to show who it is. But those are just not good watercolors, because with this you could just get great effects. And if I were to fight with these watercolors, I would never get these effects. I barely had to even brush the paper with this, which again, hate to say it, I carried the torch for cheap art supplies for the longest time, and I do still believe in, like, you know, this kind of pencil. But again, it's because this is basically, if you were to buy like a set of artist pencils, the number 2 pencil fits into the 2H. So there's like the range of like H to B, hardness to black. This would actually fit in an artist's, like a professional pencil artist's case. He would use a 2B. It would just be called a 2H. Or sorry, he would use a number 2 pencil. It would just be called a 2H in his set. So anyways, sorry to go on that long rant. If you were looking for just a fun little video about painting of a girl or drawing of a girl, I apologize that I went into that rant, but maybe it'll save you in the long run. Maybe you'll take this advice. I'm not good at taking advice, so I understand, but maybe you will take the advice and just next time you go to the art store, just buy the shiny stuff, which sounds weird if you're getting watercolor in general, or just get the mid-range. You can ask them too, because there's like, you know, every company has like low range to mid-range, and just ask whoever works there, like, hey, what's the mid-range? Because you'll just save yourself so much headache and heartache. Anyways, sorry if you watch this video expecting to have a good time and instead you just got a rant about not using cheap watercolors. But anyways, hope you have a good day. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.